Part 26. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 251. 249 Coping Method. Well, that means our problem now is that Lu Weiwei is fighting. When he has a way to solve the T-virus and node rises again, he can push us directly. However, before that, we have to deal with Tialong's attack. Tomoko Gaoliang's complexion changed a little. She felt that the person who captured her seemed to be not doing well. It seems to be the rhythm of being wiped out every minute. That's right. I guess Tialong now looks at us like sharks look at humans. Although he doesn't like it, he should take a bite. The problem is that his bite will leave a scar the size of a bowl. Lin Huo said. And Lu Weiwei is a poisonous snake hiding in the cave, waiting to come out and give us a fatal blow at any time. Chen Yuyan's face was serious. Then what should we do? Tomoko Gaoliang panicked. With our current strength, even with those 3 production lines, it is impossible for us to achieve the 2 goals of repelling Tialong's attack and defeating Lu Weiwei in a short time at the same time. Chen Yuyan shook his head and said. Then spread the T-virus directly in Torch City. Tomoko Gaoliang's eyes flashed a fierce look. Lu Weiwei is definitely on guard against this move, and even if we really defeat Lu Weiwei with this method, we will block the way in the future. Neither GDI nor Nod will let us go. Chen Yuanyeo shook his head. That's better than being killed by them. Tomoko Takara raised her voice. Lin Huo sneered and said, is this the way of thinking of Japanese people? You never think about the consequences when you do things. It was said thousands of years ago that people have short-term worries without long-term considerations. How come you never understand? We can't even pass the level in front of us, so why talk about the future? Tomoko Gaoliang was also anxious. She was willing to surrender to Chen Yuyan because she felt that Chen Yuyan must be a well-developed experimenter, and it was better to follow him than to be trembling among Falcone's gangsters. You must know that a mature and intellectual beauty like her is indeed in danger in such an environment. When she came to the world of Command and Conquer, she was also initially attracted by Chen Yuyan's thriving territory, thinking that this place had a bright future. But who knew that they would face such a catastrophe? The most you can do is to let us live a few more days, and after a few days we will die even more miserably. Chen Yuyan shook his head and said, so, before you have a real feasible plan, shut up. Otherwise, I will block it for you with something. He turned to Lin Huo again and said, the only way out for us now is to travel through time and space as a reward after completing the mission. After going to a new world, we must act with the premise of how to defeat Tialong and Lu Weiwei. Find our way out in that world. Even if there is no way out, we need to find a way to run straight away. What, are you going to run away? Leave the stall of nearly 10,000 people behind? Do you know how long it will take for us to build such a basic market again? Lin Huo was a little displeased. After all, Iron Hammer Town was his painstaking effort for several years. If you can't win the battle, why don't you plan to surrender to Lu Weiwei if you don't run away? After we wiped out his entire armored regiment and used the T-virus to turn his capable men into zombies? Chen Yuyan asked rhetorically. Lin Huo cursed in a low voice, but also agreed with Chen Yuyan's statement. If we run away, I think we can find a way to go to Texas. Maybe there is a chance to get a share of the alien spaceship crash. Chen Yuyan said, 200 kilometers east of the ruined city is not a seaside, is it? After we go to the beach, we can directly build a boat and come out. This is impossible. Now the sea has become a restricted area for humans, especially the ocean. Even GDI dares to maintain only one offshore force. Because under the influence of tiberium, many creatures in the sea have already died. Mutation, God knows how many terrifying sea-born tiberium demons there are. Lin Huo said. Then how did GDI cross the ocean? Chen Yuyan asked. A large aircraft like a fortress in the air, the most famous one is Michael McNeil's car, the Kodiak. Even if you don't play games, Red Alert will always know it. The base vehicle will always know it. GDI's operations the way is to use a large aircraft such as the Kodiak to transport the base vehicle to the corresponding theater, and then quickly establish a frontline combat base, and then fight. Lin Hua replied. Chen Yuyan smiled self-deprecatingly, well, it seems that we have lost another path. In short, for now, let's aim to complete the task as soon as possible. The next day, Wang Jinsong and Jin Shan, who had been locked up for a whole day in the command center with nothing but computers, were released, and they handed Chen Yuyan the schedule with the smudges on it. Chen Yuyan asked them to put the schedule on the ground with great disgust, and called an NS-4 robot to help him unfold the schedule. After looking at it, he sent 2 people to wash themselves first. Then let the robot clean the command center thoroughly. After a full hour, the 2 people who finally cleaned up and ate something came to Chen Yuyan, and now it was obvious that the 2 were still full of hostility. After our discussions, we reached a consensus that whether it is armored forces or biological and chemical weapons forces, it is difficult to build an army that can counter the Iron Dragon in a short period of time. Jin Shan said. So now we can only start with Tai Long and Lu Weiwei. Wang Jinsong said. Go to their territories and cities to check for intelligence, and see if there is a chance to trigger the confrontation between the 2 sides in advance. Jin Shan said. I have a plan to go undercover in General Tai Long's territory. Anyway, I used to work for his subordinates. Now I will tell a lie at most when I go back and say that I came back after being imprisoned for 2 months. It shouldn't cause any trouble. Doubt. Wang Jinsong said. Then let Drago go to Torch City. He is a mercenary wandering around, and he will not arouse suspicion when he goes to Torch City. He has been patrolling the periphery of the ruined city recently and has not returned yet, but we need to be on guard. The possibility of him becoming a double agent, Jinshan said. We have also listed the production plan. We have also fully considered the people's livelihood in this plan, and it is not militaristic. The focus will be on improving the combat effectiveness of the existing army, not blind expansion. Wang Jinsong said, in addition, for the matter of going to Iron Dragon's territory, I need to leave now. Chen Yuyan frowned and said, are you leaving now? Yes, the longer I stay here, the more suspicious it will be when I return to Iron Dragon's territory. And now you can't equip me with research institutes and enough scientists. I'm wasting my time here. Wang Jinsong said. Okay, then be careful. Chen Yuyan thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Wang Jinsong used to be in the territory of Tai Long's subordinates, so he should be quite sure about going there this time. The other side of Torch City, Jin Shan frowned, as if he was thinking about the right candidate. Don't think about it. After Drago comes back, I will go to Torch City with him. In addition, I can also bring Four Eyes and Victor. They all have oriental faces, no problem. Chen Yuyan said. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 252. 250 Raid. Wang Jinsong nodded and said, okay, since that's the case, I'll leave first. Do you still have the tattered pickup trucks that the Black Wolf tribe used to have? Just give me one. Chen Yuyan said with a smile, then I will trouble you, Lao Wang. You were supposed to live here in peace and stability, teaching you to read one by one, and doing research when you have nothing to do. Unexpectedly, you still can't settle down now. I've been stable for 2 months, that's enough. Wang Jinsong took advantage of Chen Yuyan's words and said with a chuckle, I've been running around for 30 years, and I can't be free for a long time. As he said that, he stood up and walked towards the door. When we get there, I will find a way to contact you. Before that, you'd better not act rashly. The gap between the Forsaken and humans is just it's like a gap, and it's basically impossible for the two sides to have any communication, so I have to be careful. Chen Yuyan said very seriously, then you must remember that ensuring your own safety is the main priority. When necessary, you can do a fake show for real. In short, I hope you can come back safely. He, don't worry. I've lived in this red zone for 30 years, so it's fine. After Wang Jinsong finished speaking, he waved his hand and left. In the next few days, Chen Yuyan worked with Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi to integrate the current ruined city. During this period of time, he took the time to go to the world of Resident Evil, mainly to find a printing factory to order a batch of currency. Of course, the statement given is that it was printed to make a tabletop game. This kind of ordinary printed currency is very different from real banknotes, and there is no anti-counterfeiting method at all, so there is no trouble at all. The banknotes he printed have the same denomination as the soft sister coins he is used to, but 500 and 1000 have been added to this basis. Most of the patterns printed on the banknotes are selected from the collapsed buildings in the ruined city, but on the back is a 3D reconstruction of the building, which means a better tomorrow. The name of the banknote is called Ruin Coin, or a coin for short. These banknotes will be handed over to Lin Huo after they are printed, and he will take them back to give his teacher a magic seal as anti-counterfeiting. Chen Yuyan painstakingly explained to the painter in the printing factory how the pattern on the front of the banknote should reflect the sense of thickness and darkness, while the color on the back should be bright and full of hope, but the painter completely regarded this as a small wolf pack squad doesn't sit idle when kids play. Central Western Sahara, disputed area between Morocco and Western Sahara. A small town under the control of the warlord Yebuda. This is a small town built next to an oasis. It has a population of just over 3,000 and is basically isolated from the outside world. And Yebuda's army built a large barracks next to the town. This barracks was tightly sealed off by the army, and no one was allowed to enter within 500 meters of it, otherwise once they crossed the cordon, they would be killed directly. On the hot sand at the edge of the barracks, there were more than a dozen air-dried corpses scattered. They were all people who wanted to try their luck. However, at this moment, as night fell, the barracks was already shrouded in flames, and the soldiers inside were all in chaos. The ear-piercing sirens kept sounding, the searchlights were swaying everywhere towards the sky, and the soldiers in the base opened fire indiscriminately with long guns and short cannons. There was a clatter of gunshots, and tracer bullets drew red trails in the night sky. At the same time, the sound of the helicopter's engine was heard in the sky, and two huge black figures hovered in the air, and they thought without thinking about the large number of rockets pouring down on the ground. With the help of the flames burning inside the base, the two gods of death in the sky finally revealed themselves, the Me-24 Hind gunship. Two sets of UB/V-32 rocket launchers are mounted on the Dragon racks on both sides of the helicopter. Each set of rocket launchers is equipped with 32 rockets, which is equivalent to 128 rockets on each helicopter. This is completely insane firepower. Boom. Boom. Boom boom boom. A series of explosions set off like fried beans, blowing up the soldiers on the ground, and several buildings in the barracks were also hit and exploded. The soldiers in the barracks ran around like headless chickens, but some people were relatively calm. They shouted loudly for the soldiers to reorganize their resistance and take out the anti-aircraft missiles. Two black soldiers ran along the stairs with a Stinger anti-aircraft missile, and they planned to run to the roof to launch the missile and destroy the two terrifying armed helicopters. However, they didn't take a few steps, when suddenly the air around them seemed to be distorted, followed by two flashes of cold light, and a bloody arrow shot out from their throats instantly. Lightning flashed, and Victor's figure appeared next to him. He took the Stinger missile from one of them, pushed the corpse away and ran upstairs. He looked coldly at the several M113 infantry fighting vehicles rampaging around in the barracks, picked up the missile, locked it with infrared rays, and launched it directly. Boom. An M113 infantry fighting vehicle was hit by the engine and instantly burst into flames. At the same time, outside one of the barracks, the Ghost is armed with an M41 a one-pulse rifle and is shooting wildly through the walls. His tactical eyepiece protruded a third of its length like a snail's tentacles, and all the movements of the unidentified soldiers inside the barracks fell into his eyes. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. The bullet with a muzzle velocity exceeding 2,000 meters per second passed through the wall of the barracks like a piece of paper, smashing all the soldiers inside into a sieve. "It's your turn," Ghost said sullenly. Four Eyes standing next to him walked forward without saying a word, picked up a device and inserted it directly into one of the bullet holes and pressed the button, only to see a burst of purple mist immediately diffuse in the barracks. Those corpses that had just been killed immediately trembled violently when they came into contact with the mist, and then opened their cloudy eyes one after another, and stood up again. Roar! Dozens of zombies slammed open the door and rushed towards any living things around them. "Don't let them run away," added the Ghost. Cian took out the injection gun and fired a shot at the door of one of the buildings. Inducing the pheromone to disperse instantly, the zombies immediately turned around and ran towards the direction indicated by the pheromone. At the same time, inside the building, Rupier and Bertha had just slaughtered the defenders inside, and Beltway laughed wildly and arranged a thermite bomb on an iron gate. With a bang, dazzling sparks shot out, and the iron gate was burned and melted a big hole. Bertha sneered and threw a bottle of induction pheromone inside the iron gate. Soon, those zombies swarmed in and rushed in. Although they passed by Looper and others, they turned a blind eye to them, as if they didn't exist. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 253. 251 The End of the Greyhound. Boom. Boom. There was a violent explosion, and the two Mi-24 Hind gunships pouring cannons and rockets towards the base were finally shot down by the defenders with Stinger missiles, but at this moment the base was almost in ruins. The morale of most of the defenders has collapsed, and they scattered while screaming. The remaining soldiers who hadn't escaped also looked at each other, not knowing what to do now. After luring a group of zombies into the iron gate, there were immediately intense gunshots inside. Looper came to the door with a gun and saw a downward staircase inside. She looked around, the air next to her twisted, and Victor's figure appeared. Soon, Ghost and Four Eyes also came over with guns. After the gunshots inside became chaotic, Looper said lightly, "Let's go." Saying that, the 6 members of the wolf pack team rushed straight down like a pack of wolves. Walking down the stairs, there is a very wide basement, and an inverted triangle mark is spray painted on the wall opposite the stairs. Tricell, the Tricell Company. There is no doubt that the warlord Yebuda of Western Sahara really colluded with Sanley and Company. The chaotic gunshots in the basement came from everywhere, mixed with the howling of zombies. After the wolf pack team rushed in, they found that there were already some corpses of zombies and militants lying on the ground. Some of the corpses had mutated and were about to get up. They easily killed these uncontrolled zombies, and then ran all the way to the depths of the basement. This basement is not so much the laboratory of the Triple Company as it is the weaponry of the Triple Company. The rooms are filled with all kinds of weapons and equipment, and a strong smell of motor oil permeates the air. Those soldiers who had already panicked under the impact of the zombies were unable to organize effective resistance at all, and they were simply vulnerable to the elite wolf pack team. After cleaning up all the stubborn soldiers and killing all those who raised their hands and surrendered, the wolf pack team came to a huge courtyard. The iron gate of the patio was tightly closed, and a group of zombies were frantically gnawing and scratching at the iron gate, leaving bloodstains on the gate. They didn't hesitate to go up and shoot wildly. The firepower of the 6 M41 one-pulse rifles was extremely terrifying, and the group of zombies were beaten into a pile of rotten meat in a few seconds. Wow, ha 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 ha. If only there was a gun like this in Raccoon City. Beltway was very happy and laughed. Stop talking nonsense and blow the door open. Looper scolded. Boom. The thermite bomb exploded again, and the heavy iron gate was blasted open. Almost at the same time, da-da-da-da. Fires a barrage of bullets from inside the door. But the Wolfpack team had been prepared for a long time. Instead of standing stupidly at the door, they hid beside them and threw a flash bomb in. Hum. Dazzling light and high-frequency sound waves appeared instantly, and there was a scream of pain in the room. God damn it! The remnants of Umbrella Corporation. The lackeys. You don't even know you're dying. Let's die together. A roar came from inside. Looper turned on the bulletproof mode of his combat uniform and rushed in, only to see a man sitting next to the workbench, yelling and cursing. He has a bald head, grizzled beard, and a pair of glasses. He looks ugly and vicious. At this time, he was still holding a syringe in his hand, and the medicine in it was empty, and all of it was injected into his body. His eyesight and hearing had been temporarily deprived by the flashbang, and his tears couldn't stop flowing out, and he was still cursing, "You idiots! You don't even know who your enemy is." While talking, there was a sudden scream of pain, the body began to squirm unnaturally, the skin cracked, and something seemed to grow inside. Seeing this with 4 eyes, he smiled coldly, took out the injection gun and shot it. The other members of the Wolfpack team also took out their injection guns and aimed at this person indiscriminately. Almost at the same time, the peristalsis of this person stopped, and the reaction that was about to start to mutate completely disappeared, only the cracked skin continued to ooze blood. His screams became louder, and the pain of his skin being torn apart was unbearable. Ian said that if people in this world disagree with each other, they will give themselves a shot. It seems that what he said is right. 4 Eyes said flatly. Yo. Already called Ian? How far have you progressed? Beltway said narrowly. He looked at him coldly with 4 eyes, and didn't speak, but just put an unknown potion in the injection gun again. Beltway shut up immediately when he saw this, and hid behind Looper. This is a large dose of T-virus neutralizer. You have no chance to mutate and die with us. Jack Norman, the Greyhound organization is over. Come with us and be a good prisoner. The ghost looked at the old man, said darkly. U.S.S. Ha 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 ha. The Umbrella Company has long been over, and you are just a group of terrorists now. You can't do it if you want to catch me. He suddenly grabbed his chest, and there were actually a holster. Boom. Jack Norman pulled the trigger directly in the holster, and the bullet shot through his heart in an instant. How many times do I have to say that? It's not a toy bill for kids. It's, well, serious stuff anyway. Can you please stop drawing me a cartoon like this? Inside the printing house, Chunyuan was yelling at the painter with a frenzied face. I've told you 10,000 times too. How twisted is your psychology to print such a horrible thing on banknotes? There are still skulls. This will scare the children. The artist said, a man who was no less sissy than Murphy's. He argued with Chunyuan in a high-pitched voice. An important character in the plot, Jack Norman, has died, and it was the Wolfpack team that caused his death, which is included in the influence of the experimenter. Chunyuan get 1000 bonus points. The Greyhound organization, an important plot organization, has been destroyed, and it was the Wolfpack team that led to the organization's destruction, which is included in the influence of the experimenter. Chunyuan get 4000 bonus points. 2 system notifications came suddenly, which shocked Chunyuan. He quickly got rid of the painter, and ran to a quiet place to communicate with the Wolfpack team. The system reminded him that he had never done it before, so he never thought that there would be such a reward. But now that I think about it, it seems that whether I was in Raccoon City before or fell out with Umbrella later, it seems that I have never killed any important person. Henry Christine, the director of the European branch, is one, but now it seems that this guy has nothing to do with the plot. As for the organization, he handed over the Umbrella Company's criminal evidence and police chief Brian Elrons as a witness to the Echo No. 6 team. In the final settlement, he gave 5 or 6,000 points. However, he didn't think about it, thinking that the system was just settling mission rewards. Unexpectedly, killing important plot characters and destroying important plot forces will also have a lot of rewards. This is a surprise. And what made him even more delighted was that after getting these 5,000 reward points, his current reward points had reached 15,850 points. It's just a little bit closer to binding Yi as an exclusive follower. You can take her to other worlds. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 254. 252 Join 11. Have you captured the Greyhound organization? Chen Yuyan asked immediately after getting through Looper's communication. That's right, we've been tracking them for a long time. The information provided by Tomoko Gaoliang was very important, allowing us to lock down Yebuta's stronghold, and the Greyhound organization is working with Yebuta during this time. The Sanlian Company through the Greyhound organization secret funding provided to Yebuta to build long-range missiles, Rupier said. It seems that Murphy's told me that he planned to use missiles full of T-virus to threaten the Yan Kingdom and the United States. There is still a basis for this. Where are the missiles? Chen Yuyan asked. Right here, we found 5 missiles, all of which are the new RT-23 ballistic missiles of the former Soviet Union. But they are being assembled now, and they have not been completed yet. Beltway is installing the bombs, and we will keep the appearance of the missiles. They were completely destroyed. Afterwards, we will report this matter to the United Nations, so that the West African warlord Yebuta, who secretly cooperates with the Sanlian Company, will not be able to jump around for a few days. Looper replied. These missiles, Chen Yuyan originally wanted to say to leave the missiles for him to scan, but it was obviously impossible when he thought about it. Yebuta's reinforcements will definitely arrive soon, and it is impossible for the Wolf Pack team to stay there and wait to face the regular army. He turned the subject and said, these missiles must be disposed of properly, and the Sanlian Company should not be allowed to use them again. Evacuate as soon as you are done. There is still some good news. The reason why Yebuta was able to manufacture advanced ballistic missiles like the RT-23 was because after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, 5 missile experts sneaked to Africa through Ukraine. And they also used their connections to some core components of missiles were smuggled over when the former Soviet Union just disintegrated and was at its most chaotic. What core component? The seeker and propulsion, because there are ready-made products. Yebuta can build a ballistic missile in 7 or 8 years. Then you got all these things? Chen Yuyan asked. How chaotic was it when the former Soviet Union disintegrated? Even ballistic missiles can be smuggled out. Note 1. Chen Yuyan secretly slandered. The propulsion device is too big. I only took a set of gyroscopes and guidance devices, and prepared to blow up all the others. But I caught all 5 missile experts. They have been here in Yebuta for several years. But what a fairy day, Rupier said. Put them in the Antarctic Research Institute, and then give them some engineering research projects. I just want to install the electromagnetic gun on the tank chassis, and let them do this research. Tell them, if they are obedient, it will be fine in the future. Eat well and drink well, money is as important as women. If you don't obey, then you will die of old age in this poor place like Antarctica. Chen Yuyan said. You have the final say. After Looper finished speaking, he hung up the communication. Chen Yuyan was in a good mood. Although he couldn't scan the technology of the RT-23 ballistic missile, he didn't care. Wang Jinsong told him long ago that missiles have become a luxury in the world of Command and Conquer because of the ion storm. It is okay to use short-range missiles to hit aircraft, but it is basically impossible for long-range missiles to meet the hit rate. Either they are struck by lightning halfway, or they cannot be precisely guided. They can only hit a general area, and it is common for them to deviate from the target by tens of kilometers. Sun. After all, a ballistic missile flies thousands of kilometers. Even if it relies on inertial flight at the end, you still have to hope that there will be no ion storm along the way. Lin Huo also said that the Brotherhood of Nod does have missiles, but they are basically short-range tactical missiles, and they are not commonly used. On the contrary, both warring parties are vigorously developing long-range artillery as long-distance support firepower, and regard energy weapons such as lasers, ion cannons, and sonic weapons as the main development direction of the next generation. Chen Yuyan hummed a ditty and returned to the printing factory studio, only to see the sissy painter running over excitedly, holding a sketch in his hand and shouting, "Look! I've figured out a way. Look!" In the city above the ruins of the world, bathed in rainbows and cherry blossoms. Boom! A fist the size of a bowl hit him directly on the forehead. "I'll rub your grandma's legs." Chen Yuyan said cursingly in his mind, "System, go back to my world." Binding Yi as an exclusive follower requires 16,000 points, and now Chen Yuyan has 15,850 points, and his power rating will be given 90 points every day. So, after 2 days it will be ready. Thinking of this, Chen Yuyan was so excited that he could barely fall asleep. In the 2 days after returning to the world of Command and Conquer, he has been taking Yi around in several areas of the ruined city, and told her all kinds of anecdotes and strange things in his world. Anyway, the world of Resident Evil is not much different from his previous world, except for the zombies. In these 2 days, nothing happened. First, shortly after he destroyed the Greyhound organization, the last experimenter, Wolman Schindler, also went to the world of Resident Evil. It seems that after Tomoko Gaoliang was captured by himself, the experimenter also started to move around. And inside the ruined city, the confrontation and turmoil caused by the villagers of Muhi village also began to intensify. 2 days later. Experimenter Chen Yuyan, are you sure you want to bind Yi as your exclusive follower? After being bound as an exclusive follower, Yi will be able to follow you through other time and space, and she and life will also be bound to you. If you die, Yi will die too. If Yi dies, depending on the strength of Yi's strength at that time, your body and soul will also suffer irreversible serious damage. I'm sure. Chen Yuyan said seriously. Yi's world plot influence coefficient is 0.02%, which has almost no influence. The personal ability coefficient is 800%, and it takes 16,000 reward points to bind Yi as your exclusive follower. Do you confirm the cost? I'm sure. Hurry up. Chen Yuyan said eagerly. The binding is complete, Yi has become your exclusive follower. You now have 30 bonus points remaining. When Chen Yuyan saw his pitiful 30 reward points, he felt like crying. It was so miserable. Dad! Dad! Yi ran over and said loudly, a voice just now asked me if I want to be bound with Dad. From now on, we will live and die together, and we can go to other worlds. I immediately agreed. Chen Yuyan laughed heartily, that's right, Yi. From now on, you can go with me to the thousands of worlds, to take risks. To explore. To fight. To conquer. Okay, okay. Then Dad, 2 days ago you kept saying that you wanted to take me to see a very interesting world, can you go now? Yi looked at Chen Yuyan expectantly. That, Chen Yuyan looked at the 30 points he had left, and could only choke speechlessly. Note 1. The missile that Morpheus D. Duval prepared to use to blackmail the Yan Kingdom and the United States in the soul of the Gun 4 should generally be the most advanced ballistic missile at that time. Because he was launching from the Atlantic Research Institute, it was okay to hit the United States. If he wanted to cross half of the world from the Atlantic Ocean to hit Yangguo, it was not something ordinary missiles could do. This kind of missile could not be built by the Greyhound organization or Murphy's at the time, or that only the 5 hooligans could build it. Considering the situation of each country, the only possibility is that it flowed from the former Soviet Union. As for the logic in it, it's still the same sentence, ask Kabian. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 255. 253, Cancer. Fortunately, Tomoko Gaoliang came to rescue him at this time. She came over and said, Zhangqing, the village chief of Muhi village, is causing trouble because you drove her nephew back from the army. She took advantage of the problem and asked you to give him the initial help. Residents of Xingfu village, Beidi village, and Muhi village that belong to you will receive higher treatment. How about the other 2 villages? A cold light flashed in Qinyuyan's eyes. Genyu, the village head of Xingfu village, restrained the whole village, saying that the people of Xingfu village and Iron Hammer town are one, regardless of each other. However, Cao Zheng, the village head of Beidi village, did nothing. He just said this matter has nothing to do with him, it just depends on Boss Yan's intention. Tomoko Gaoliang said. Qinyuyan rubbed his chin and said, if I'm not wrong, many people from Xingfu village and Beidi village have joined Zhangqing's team, right? Yes. What are you going to do? Gaoliang's Haizi asked. Actually, after I took over the soldiers of the Black Wolf tribe, I realized that the collective consciousness of many people in this world has gradually become indifferent. Because they have been separated from a civilized society with a lot of rules for a long time, so as long as they can eat enough, they don't plan to do more things. They are insensitive, that's it? Qinyuyan said. Then, he pointed in the direction of the sea from a distance, and continued, GDI's social model is similar to the normal world, maybe even stricter, while Nod uses religious brainwashing to maintain cohesion. So they don't what will go wrong. But we are different, what we have to do is to use hope to generate cohesion. Let people in these yellow zones understand that in the Legion of Ruins, they can create a better future with their own hands. Then what does it mean that you let Zhangqing mess around there? Tomoko Gaoliang asked. Now we have a total of more than 7,000 soldiers and people. Although these 7,000 people have formed a society, there are many problems in this society. The society of Hammer Town is based on Torch City, and our society is relying on my production line. Qinyuyan said. You're talking about social ecology, right? There is indeed such a situation. These residents are actually raised by you in captivity to a large extent. No wonder the soldiers' combat effectiveness is so poor. Gao Liangzi said. Qinyuyan snorted coldly, so, do my and Zhen meet you? Zhangqing and the others are honest under Qi Wei's control, but once I let them live a good life, they will blame me for not giving more, and the reason they feel confident is that they think they can do well on their own without us, while we cannot do without the human resources they provide, at least not now. They thought you were able to annex Hammer Town because of their support? Tomoko Gaoliang sneered. Unfortunately, I guess Zhangqing thinks so. In her previous life, she was a shrew who would swear at the vegetable market for a dime. She had nothing but a disgusting mouth. Qinyuyan said, the reason why I let her do this time is to let those who have the same idea gather with her, and then cut it off directly. It doesn't matter, you can do your own thing. Tomoko Gaoliang said lightly. Muhi village, square. When Qinyuyan was fighting to death outside, who was providing food for his soldiers? Clothing. Housing. It wasn't us. Without our hard work, they would have starved to death outside already. On a high platform, Zhangqing was delivering a speech with great excitement. She now looks a lot fatter than when Qinyuyan gathered the 3 village chiefs for a meeting, and she was still wearing a silk skirt brought over from Torch City, which made her fat body show off, making people disgusted. Because basically the meat sent to Muhi village is controlled by her own family, and the people in the village want to improve their lives only through her. She even has the final say on who to assign to which jobs. For example, her nephew, who was beaten up by Chun Yuyan and then driven away, was actually inserted by her to serve as a logistics soldier, a very lucrative and easy soldier. In short, under Chun Yuyan's deliberate indulgence, she almost became the local emperor of Muhi village. Now that Chun Yuyan is relying on us to occupy Iron Hammer Town, then the things in Iron Hammer Town should be given to us to enjoy. We should take whatever we want in Iron Hammer Town. This is the reward we deserve. Because without us, how could Chun Yuyan win the Iron Hammer Town? The more Zhang Qing said, the more excited she became, and even she believed the lies. Those crooked people below were also incited, and they shouted loudly, "Yes! Let Chun Yuyan give us a higher salary. Beef every day." Zhang Qing looked at them and said loudly, "But now, why should we distribute the place we live to the people of Hammer Town? Let them eat ours and live in ours. You know, they should be slaves. He is the winner. Yes. Why? Kick out the people from Hammer Town." Zhang Qing continued to shout hoarsely in front of the loudspeaker, "We want to march. We want to strike. We want to drive out outsiders. Let Chun Yuyan hear our voice, let him know, let only when we enjoy the fruits of victory together can we convince everyone. Otherwise, he has the ability to kill us all. Yes. We want to protest. We want to protest." The villagers of Muhi village and other people in other villages who were lazy were very angry. Click, Chun Yuyan turned off the monitor, and said to Wang Ji next to him, "It's almost done, tell them that we agree to their request. Then remove all the other people in Muhi village. Take their luggage as much as possible, if you can't take it away. Those who gave it to Muhi village will be compensated by us. Then, all traffic to Muhi village will be blocked." Wang Ji has already quit the army, for this man who has no military temperament at all, but is very smooth in all aspects, Chun Yuyan arranged for him to be the captain of the security brigade, responsible for the security of various places. He is in charge of the self-police teams in those villages and the protector-type guard robots that have been expanded to more than 200 units. He is known as Wang Beizang. Such an arrangement is not in vain. He has been following Chun Yuyan from the very beginning. In fact, there are the heads of the self-police regiments from all over the country and protector robots with strong autonomy. His main job is to coordinate. But his ability is just like that, almost. Hearing Chun Yuyan's arrangement, Wang Ji was filled with righteous indignation. This Zhang Qing really doesn't know how to flatter her. "Boss Yan, you have tolerated her enough, but she is still like this. I already knew she was taking bribes. She should have been arrested before. She will have a more suitable ending, go for it. By the way, remember to withdraw both the police team and the protector robot, and the NS-4 robot as well." Okay, I'll do it now." Wang Ji nodded hastily. Tomoko Gaoliang said next to him, "Then let's start implementing monetary policy. Lin Huo, is the currency settled?" Lin Huo nudged several NS-4 robots outside which were carrying countless coins from the container with his mouth, and said, "Seeing so many banknotes, my teacher, Archmage Edwin, almost put me out with a fireball. Take him. In other words, magicians are noble figures, how could they do such despicable things? Then what does he think is not cheap?" Tomoko Gaoliang asked back. "If I only give him 1 or 2 banknotes to make a magic mark, he will think it is noble. As for why, you can figure it out yourself." Lin Huo laughed. "How did you convince him in the end?" Chun Yuyan asked. "Haha. I gave him a big piece of tiberium crystal." Lin Huo replied with a big laugh. Chun Yuyan and Tomoko Gaoliang were so stunned that their faces turned green. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 256. 254 Economic System. By the way, are you so not worried that the world you bound to will be destroyed by the Tiberium mine? Chen Yuyan asked while clutching his forehead. He suddenly discovered that the forest fire, which has always been steady, seemed to occasionally short-circuit. Actually, this is my teacher's strong request. I don't know why he wants it so urgently. But I think, with his strength, he shouldn't even be able to suppress the energy of a piece of tiberium crystal. Lin Huo replied. Then, how strong is your teacher, Edwin? Chen Yuyan was also very interested in things like magic in the magical world. He can use up to level 7 spells at the moment. Simply put, if he is facing the army in Iron Hammer Town, he can still handle it with a little effort alone. Lin Huo said. Kill a 1,000 man army with a tank unit by one person? Is the great magician so powerful? Tomoko Gaoliang was also very interested. Lin Huo nodded. Actually, this is more than that. With the cooperation of the army, the role of the great magician will be doubled. Therefore, according to my current understanding, the experimenters from the magical world must not be underestimated. They're no less powerful than a hot weapon. At this time, an NS-4 robot walked in and said, Mr. Yan, all the currency has been prepared, a total of 20 tons of banknotes, and all of them were transported into the Financial Bureau building in Xingfu village. Chen Yuyan smiled and clapped his hands to Tomoko Gaoliang and said, Okay then, the new Minister of Finance and Director of the Financial Services Bureau, it's your job. Tomoko Gaoliang stood up and said very solemnly, the basis of banknotes is the standard system. In view of the present and future of the ruined city, food issues will be the top priority, so I decided to adopt a system that uses food as the standard. At present, the staple foods in the ruined city are potatoes and sweet potatoes, but the yields of these two foods are very high, and they do not have a threshold effect. Therefore, the current standard of currency is calculated based on rice. Because the rice production is not high, it may cause deflation in the initial stage, but after the rice production starts to increase, the situation will gradually ease. Moreover, the current appropriate deflation will also allow us to temporarily cover up the shortcomings of our lack of circulating materials. As she spoke, she took out a banknote. On the front of this banknote was the ruins of a desolate city, but on the back was a thriving city. If you look carefully, you will find that the ruins on the front and the city on the back actually correspond. This is what Chen Yuyan hopes to express, to use his own hands to create hope and the future. Maybe it was because of being beaten up by Chen Yuyan last time, that sissy painter who was full of sunshine vented all his grievances on the banknote pattern. The ruins of that city looked so gloomy and terrifying. But this was also the effect Chen Yuyan wanted. This is our currency, Ruin coin. The purchasing power is 1 Ruin coin, 100 grams of rice, and there will be a floating adjustment within 20% according to the quality of the rice. When purchasing other goods, it will be converted into equivalent value with rice. I have already recruited in the Financial Bureau 50 people. The main job of these people is to set the reference price of the commodity and guide the market to start using our Ruin coin. In addition, given that NOD gold coins were in circulation in Hammer Town, therefore, we will purchase NOD gold banknotes in the hands of current residents according to the corresponding market value, and after 1 month, we will completely close the channel for exchanging Ruin coins for NOD gold banknotes and GDI beauty gardens. Our economic system can withstand the impact of foreign capital and goods. Time to reopen. It seems that professional things have to be done by professional people. I spared Tomoko Gaoliang's life before, but now it seems that she is still very useful. Chen Yuyan smiled and said, very well, starting next month, all employees' wages will be paid in ruins coins. In addition, in the next week, those who are the first to use ruins coins will get a 20% discount on purchases, and we will pay for this discount. There is another very important thing, that is, we must establish our own standard storage system, which is rice at present. I recommend that you go back to the binding world, buy at least 1,000 tons of rice and store it to prevent currency from appearing fluctuations. Tomoko Gaoliang said. Then I have to wait for 2 days. I don't have enough points now, please forgive me. Chenyuyan raised his hands in a sign of surrender. I still have some points, but you know that although the world of Baldur's Gate is a magical world, its productivity is equivalent to that of the European Middle Ages. Where can I get 1,000 tons of rice? Lin Huo also said. In short, this matter is very important. If you don't want the economic system of the ruined city to collapse so soon, then you must do it. Gao Liang's Heiza said. Chenyuyan sighed. Now besides Jinshan and Wang Jinsong, he is the one asking for money from him. Why is his life so miserable now? Let's think about happy things, he said. In short, currency and the financial system is left to you. Let's talk about Muhi village. I just wanted to ask you, is it enough to block Muhi village? Lin Huo asked. It's not a complete blockade, I just want to create a strong contrast. Therefore, the currency system is also open to Muhi village. But the villagers of Muhi village need to spend money to get anything from us, including those we use welfare stuff such as housing, such as subsistence allowance food, such as job opportunities in those factories that I set up. Of course, you can leave Muhi village, but you must be monitored, and if you want to stay outside, you also need to spend money. If there is no money, even the streets are not allowed to sleep, and the protector-type guard robots will drive them away. Those who want to leave the city of ruins are welcome at any time, but no transportation is provided. Chan Yuyan said. Tomoko Gaoliang pondered for a while, and said, I probably know what you mean, just as your production line supports the entire economic system of the ruined city now, you just need to forcibly separate Muhi village from this system come on, so that they can only rely on their poor grain production to make money. You are too bad. Lin Huo's eyes lit up, obviously appreciating this approach very much. Of course, I built those factories with production lines, which is equivalent to building factories and letting villagers work in the factories to make money, and then buy my things. The middle link is actually me who provides the most, I just let they are clearly aware of this. Chan Yuyan said while spreading his hands. Then what are you talking about, what is Zhongqing's best ending? Tomoko Gaoliang asked. If my grasp of people's hearts is correct, the ending will be very lively. A cold smile appeared on the corner of Chan Yuyan's mouth. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 257. 255 Sense of Belonging. Why don't you let us work? I used to work on this road before. A villager from Muhi village shouted loudly. In front of the villagers is a member of the self-police group wearing a grey security uniform. Behind him is a road being leveled, with more than 10 NS-4 robots and more than 50 workers working in full swing. There is also a car parked next to it, and the chef in the car is carrying down boxes of lunch. Members of the self-police group looked at the villager coldly and said, Boss Yan said that the people of Muhi village have made great contributions to the ruined city, but everyone doesn't know enough about their contributions. Therefore, they should have a full understanding opportunities to show themselves. Then why don't you let me go to work? The villagers roared loudly. Because the tools used to level the road are all provided by Boss Yan's production line. In order to allow you to show your value, you are not allowed to use these tools. Of course, if you bring your own tools, I can still let you in, and you will be paid according to the amount of work you complete. The members of the self-police regiment replied indifferently. I'm a fool, you are bullying people. I want to go in. The villagers were furious and pushed the guard back. Hostile behavior detected, hostile behavior detected. Please stop immediately, or I will take action. A protector robot staggered over from the side. Looking at the steel body of the robot, and at the workers who had finished their work in the morning and were happily eating their boxed lunches, the villager's face was livid. When he saw a worker take a big bite out of a large round piece of artificial meat from the lunch box, and the oil and water flowed down, he couldn't hold back the anger in his heart, lifted a stone and rushed up. Phew! The low-energy laser gun equipped in the protector robot's hand fired a scorching red laser, which immediately burned the villager's hand into a scorched black spot. With a scream, the villagers dropped the stone and squatted on the ground. The robot walked up, and the three-fingered mechanical claws grabbed the villager and dragged him towards the guard. He kept saying, "When hostile behavior is detected, arrest it immediately. You have the right to remain silent." Such a scene was staged in many places in Muhi village. In the previous construction, Chen intentionally avoided Muhi village from factories and other facilities that provided job opportunities. Therefore, before the villagers of Muhi village had to go to other villages to work, but because the distance was not far away and the roads had been leveled, there was no problem at that time. Moreover, at that time, Zhang Qing was obsessed with Chen Yuyan's policies, and he didn't want to do work, and he took a lot of benefits, and pocketed a lot of money. Therefore, the development of Muhi village was very lagging behind. In fact, it was because at the very beginning, Chen Yuyan just sent the veteran Ho Xiangyang to take an AMX-10P infantry fighting vehicle to Muhi village and Beatty village for a walk, declaring his sovereignty. In addition, Zhang Qing was used to being domineering in the small place of Muhi village all year round, so he didn't think highly of Chen Yuyan. Anyway, in her opinion, Chen Yuyan, like Qi Wei, had to rely on the food produced by their three villages to survive here. So she always thought that as long as she set the bottom line, Chen Yuyan would turn a blind eye to her various behaviors like Qi Wei, and even provide some help. At that time, Chen Yuyan also saw the small thoughts of these people, and he also discovered this mentality of eating and waiting to die very early. He is determined to change the status quo, so he has been conniving at Zhang Qing's behavior. This made Zhang Qing feel that her views were correct, so she went further and further on this road, dreaming of Chen Yuyan's big spring and autumn dream that today relies on their full support. And when this dream was shattered, Zhang Qing, who realized that he might not be able to cover the sky and enrich his own pockets like before, had the same first reaction as those shrews who scolded the streets in the vegetable market playing rogues. She still believed that the law does not blame the public. As long as she incited the villagers to rebel, Chen Yuyan would make some concessions. The situation was different the day after Zhang Qing mobilized the villagers to rebel and demanded more benefits from Chen Yuyan. The passages in Muhi village were closed, and unless they could prove that they had nothing to do with the previous day's resistance, all villagers had to be monitored if they wanted to go out. Moreover, all job opportunities are closed to the villagers of Muhi village. In other words, they can work, but they cannot use any tools Chen Yuyan made before. And what tools do the villagers of Muhi village have in their hands? Before Chen Yuyan came, they, like Xingfu village, planted some crops for a living, and handed them over to the Black Wolf tribe in exchange for protection. But now, they found that once Chen Yuyan stopped supplying Muhi village, they would have very little in their hands. And there is no job opportunity to make money. How many things can I get in exchange for the crop output of the primitive farming in my village? Chen Yuyan's logic is very simple. Aren't you playing tricks on me? Don't you think everything is easy to get? Don't you think that you can eat enough by farming anyway, and the rest of the extra work is my contribution to Chen Yuyan? Then let you take a good look back at what your life was like before. And not only to reminisce, but also to show the thriving and good life here in front of you, so that you can take a good look at the comparison between the two. Not only to show the villagers of Muhi village, but also to show this negative example to other people. Now the hundreds of villagers in Muhi village have become a joke in everyone's eyes. When people are not working, they often point to the helpless villagers of Muhi village and laugh at them for being too lazy to do what they can do. At the same time, these people themselves will work harder to show their sense of superiority in labor. It is precisely because I have the opportunity to work that I have the opportunity to eat meat and enjoy various benefits. People in Muhi village do not have to work and just idle around all day long, but what do they get? Nothing but a bite of homegrown brown rice. With the strong contrast from the villagers of Muhi village, everyone began to face up to the preciousness of what Chinhuyan provided them. In the past, everyone more or less took it for granted. Workers thought it was natural for Chinhuyan to give them tools and build factories. Soldiers thought it was natural for Chinhuyan to use BOW. But now they understand the preciousness of these things. Once people start to cherish the life in front of them, they will have a sense of belonging in their hearts. Once they have a sense of belonging, they will fight to the death with everyone who tries to take their life away. Thanks to Samwick, 124 and 865 for the reward of 100 starting coins. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 258. 256 Life. Another week passed, and after accumulating enough points, Chinhuyan took Yi to the world of Resident Evil. After Albert Wesker was seriously injured and returned home, Tomoko Gaoliang disappeared, the Greyhound organization was destroyed, and the African warlord Yebuta was investigated by the United Nations, and he was directly abandoned by Western Sahara as an abandoned child. After being put in prison, H.C.F. the drums also died down, and there was no more action. Now that everything in this world has calmed down, the Ruin World Group is also developing steadily. The Tiberium ore refinery and the huge garbage disposal pool in the Chihuahua Desert have also been built, and they have begun to undertake some garbage disposal work. After testing the speed at which Tiberium erodes and assimilates garbage, the scale will be further expanded. The patents for the refining and power generation of Tiberium are also being declared. In the past month, Wang Jinsong has prepared the relevant materials. These elementary Tiberium papers are very simple for Wang Jinsong, who has been studying Tiberium since graduation, and then only needs some technical camouflage so that the secret of Tiberium will not be so fast. Just be discovered. Chinhuyan currently only intends to announce the function of Tiberium to generate electricity in this world. As for the function of Tiberium that can be transformed into any kind of element, he does not plan to disclose it for the time being. Because once this function is made public, Tiberium will instantly become a strategic resource, which is very detrimental to the development of Ruin World Group. The business plan given by Horna and the others also mentioned this point. To announce the existence of Tiberium, the premise must be that Tiberium is discovered in several countries at the same time. In this way, those countries will not hide this thing, but will conduct research in a semi-open manner. And to announce the function that Tiberium can be transformed into any kind of element, it must be when the Ruin World Group becomes a multinational group with sufficient strength. Because at that time, a powerful country like the United States will sit down with you to negotiate terms. One of the key words is powerful, the other is transnational, and both are indispensable. However, all of these will take time to settle. For now, the Ruin World Group does not need Chinhuyan to worry about anything for the time being. He just turned around from time to time, supervised the work, and showed his presence by the way. He wasn't worried that the whole group would be dominated by Huona and the others. In fact, it didn't matter even if they were corrupt. Isn't it just a matter of money? Because the real core, the technology of Tiberium is in his own hands, to be precise, it is in the hands of Wang Jinsong. This is a person from another world. Wolman Schindler has never been seen, and Hank and the Ghost have been chasing him for a long time, but there is no trace of him, which makes them both very depressed. The members of the Wolf Pack team were also temporarily disbanded, and Looper needed to go back to accompany his daughter. Ruin World Group. Although the cycle of garbage disposal and power generation has not yet started, the Protector robot has already begun to make money. With this part of the dividend, in fact, Looper will live well without having to work so hard. After all, she is already a 39-year-old mother. The others went about their own business. Victor continued to practice, Beltway was doing things everywhere, Bertha occasionally took on some killer jobs, and occasionally cooperated with the ghosts with Victor. Four Eyes continued to focus on research. After completing the research and development of the Ne beta parasite, she refocused on the mixture of T-virus and Tiberium. Chenyuan also preserved some of her research reports, and brought them back to the world of Command and Conquer, and communicated on paper after Wang Jinsong returned. And during this time, Chenyuan accompanied Yi to play all over the world. Wow! Dad, is this the Great Wall? It's amazing. Yi hugged Chenyuan's arm and cheered loudly. A 17 or 18-year-old girl who is prettier than a star hugs the arm of a 25 or 6-year-old young man and calls her dad. This weird scene makes all the passers-by look at her, and they all think of it as 404. Direction up. The ocean. The ocean. It's so beautiful. I can't see the edge. Daddy, come and see. What a tall building. The house can be built so high. Although there are only 2 days and there are not many places to go, Yi is still deeply attracted by this bustling world. She is full of curiosity and admiration for everything around her. At this moment, she is not a super killer weapon at all, but just a lovely sunshine girl. Along the way, Yi's outstanding appearance even attracted a group of talent scouts, who almost knelt on the ground and begged her to join his film and television company. But at this time, Yi's indifferent eyes immediately drove these people away. As always, Yi is very indifferent to everyone except Chenyuan. This indifference is even scary, because in her eyes, she doesn't even regard these people as adults. Although sometimes Chenyuan was reluctant to admit it, but he did understand that in Yi's eyes, these were indeed not existences that could be regarded as equals to her. It's like it's absolutely impossible for you to look straight at an ant and give up your seat to it. This is simply the instinctive sense of superiority between species, which makes Chenyuan want to teach her but doesn't know how to talk about it. Are all beings equal? During these 2 days, Chenyuan and Yi had a great time playing, and even Chenyuan himself finally recovered the humanity he thought he had lost. In fact, during the 10 years he was an informant, he was really not a human being. He did many terrible things and killed many people. The psychological burden made him choose to die with the biggest drug lord in the end. Because at that time, he knew that it was impossible for him to return to the life of ordinary people, and those evil spirits were always lingering around him, no matter whether it was rosary beads or tattoos, they could not be eliminated. But now, during the few days of traveling with Yi, he has finally let go of all the burdens and allowed himself to experience life well. The only regret is that I can't communicate with Xian about life, and Xian has no interest in traveling. But when Chenyuan was playing happily, Muhi village in the world of Command and Conquer was full of gloomy clouds. The villagers in Muhi village seemed to have returned to the time when they were eating and waiting to die. All they need to do is to take care of the crops every day, and the rest of the time is to walk around the street and bask in the sun. But, there is obviously a better life. Obviously you can eat meat. It is obvious that you can earn money by sweating and sweating every day. People kept cursing Chenyuan, cursing Xingfu village, and cursing everyone outside the village. But when they saw the thriving ruined city, they swallowed back the curse in their hearts. Those people praised Chenyuan, enjoyed all the benefits he provided, and at the same time worked hard in the factory he built, using their own hands to create a better life. The neat and wide roads were built, which was not due to Chenyuan, he just provided tools. These are all laid by the villagers bit by bit. This is change. This is creation. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 259. 257 Calm down. That's right, after Muhi village was isolated, the strong contrast finally made everyone see this point. Chen couldn't give them everything, but he could create all opportunities for them. With the soilless cultivation plant factory, they no longer have to worry about food, they can grow more and richer food. With guns and ammunition, they can arm themselves, they can protect themselves. With biological and chemical weapons, those terrible monsters, the death rate of soldiers will drop a lot. With power stations, everyone has electricity to use, and with electricity, they can do more things. Many handicraft workshops have already begun to be opened, from workshops that collect scrap iron and steel bars to smelt iron blocks, and then further smelt steel, to small textile factories, to restaurants, etc. All kinds of workshops are start to appear. There are even a few people who are trying to make shells in the workshop. These products are not worried about being unsaleable. Once they are unsaleable, Tomoko Kora's financial bureau will recycle these surplus products at market prices, constantly stimulating the vitality of the market. Although the current life in the ruined city is still very rough, it has given everyone hope. As for the people in Muhi village, under Zhang Qing's instigation, most of them are lazy people who eat and wait to die, and they are all deeply envious after seeing the situation in other places. But they themselves were excluded. Many people want to leave Muhi village and return to the ruined city, but it is not easy to go back. They had to go through a lot of censorship, and they had to prove that they didn't attend Zhang Qing's party at that time. Zhang Qing later realized that someone wanted to leave, so frenzied, she gathered a group of desperados and directly sealed off the village, preventing any villagers from going out. She even beat and killed several villagers who were trying to escape. She kept brainwashing the villagers, telling them that Chen is an evil exploiter, don't be fooled. When the GDI or NOD army arrives, it will be the day when Muhi village will make its debut. At that time, with the support of GDI or NOD, they can dominate the ruined city, and now everything created by Chen will be theirs at that time. Although such rhetoric gave the villagers of Muhi village a booster in a short period of time, the booster was only temporary after all. Zhang Qing thought that her incitement was effective, and called the villagers into meetings all day long, using what she thought was the trick to confuse people. But she didn't notice that the way the villagers looked at her was changing day by day. Chen is powerful, he has tanks, cannons, and an army, and the villagers in Muhi village dare not hate him. But they dare to hate another person. This man has no tanks, no artillery, and no army. And it was this person who dragged them into their current situation. The current hard times are only temporary. The 500,000 GDI army is ready to go. It will soon break into the ruined city and destroy Chen. When that day comes, we will have whatever we want. The factory they built, it's ours. The artificial meat they produce, it's ours. We're going to arrest all of their people and throw them into our factory to work for us. Zhang Qing stood on a high platform, spitting stars and flying wildly. Speech. As long as we get through this time, good days will come. Eat brown rice today so you can eat meat tomorrow. We're going to. Before Zhang Qing finished speaking, someone below suddenly retorted loudly, then why are you still eating meat now? The villager who spoke stood up, raised a chicken bone in his hand angrily, and said loudly, look everyone. This is the chicken bone thrown from the village chief's house yesterday. It is still fresh. She eats meat every meal, and we can only eat brown rice. You say. Why do you let us live a hard life, but you yourself are full of wine and meat every day? The anger of the villagers below was instantly ignited. That's right. Before, I gave Zhang Qing the 3-month ration of meat to give my son a chance to build roads. But looking at it now, those road builders don't need her permission at all. You can go with all your strength. Me too. I could have been in the army. But she put her nephew in and squeezed me out. Obviously we are doing well. It was Zhangqing who encouraged us not to work. She even lied to us so that Boss Yan would give us more. Zhangqing's family is eating meat all the time. I said why we have so little meat rations. This time I went out and took a look and found out that other villages rationed much more than us. Those meats were all greedy by Zhangqing. The villagers complained loudly about Zhangqing's actions, and they became angry. They attributed all their hard work during this period to Zhangqing. Anger began to spread, and the villagers in the audience began to crowd towards the high platform. When did Zhangqing see such a scene? Her face was pale, and she faltered and said, I didn't eat chicken yesterday. Her henchmen wanted to block the crowd, but there were too many angry people, and they gradually couldn't resist. The villager who held the chicken bone and questioned it loudly at the beginning sneered, threw the chicken bone away, picked up a brick and shouted loudly, "We want to work. We want to eat meat. If you have a job, you can eat meat. I want to work. I want to eat meat. I want to work. I want to eat meat." Several voices in the crowd immediately echoed, and led by these people, the villagers also started to shout loudly. "Kill them! Kill Zhangqing!" The villager roared angrily, and threw the brick with a bang, smashing a dog's leg to the point of bleeding. The dog leg immediately became angry, swung the stick in his hand and knocked down a villager with a bang. However, this action made the villagers even more angry. "Kill them! Kill them!" The people roared loudly and rushed forward one after another. There were only a dozen or 20 of Zhangqing's dog legs, and they were quickly dispersed by hundreds of villagers. Seeing that the situation was not going well, Zhangqing turned around and wanted to run, but how could her fat body be able to run? She was caught by the angry villagers within a few steps and dragged off the stage. "Kill her! Kill her!" Countless people angrily picked up anything they could find around them, such as sticks, bricks, and stools. Zhangqing screamed like a pig being killed and rolled all over the floor. Her silk dress was torn into strips, and her face was beaten like a pig's head. But the villagers didn't stop at all. They vented all their hostility during this time on Zhangqing. Boom! A wooden stick hit Zhangqing's forehead, and she was beaten with blood all over her face, begging for mercy. But then another brick hit the head, and the sharp edges and corners even wiped off a piece of scalp with hair. Zhangqing's screams became smaller and smaller, and finally stopped even struggling, but the villagers still had no intention of stopping. At night, Zhangqing's mutilated body was hung up. The villagers of Muhe village made up their minds and sent representatives to negotiate with Qinyuan and admit their mistakes. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 260. 258 Task completed. See. This is the ending I arranged for her. Qinyuan pointed at Zhangqing's corpse hanging high on an abandoned building, feeling good. The original face of this corpse could not be discerned at all, and it was beaten all over with bruises, and the blood dripping from the ground had also congealed into a large puddle of stinky black blood. There are still several corpses of Zhangqing's dog legs hanging beside it, and the corpse of her nephew who openly provoked Jinchen in the barracks before is also here. Boss Yan, we were wrong. We shouldn't be bewitched by that bitch Zhangqing. Please give us another chance. In front of Qinyuan, hundreds of villagers in Muhe village knelt in several rows, respectful, not even daring to lift their heads. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He waved his hand and said, "Now that the culprit is dead, I won't pursue your mistakes. Because the ruined city has always been a family." The villagers were grateful again. "Boss Yan, you have a lot. I will remember your kindness for the rest of my life. Okay, let's put these corpses down and let the worker ants drones pick them up." People like Zhangqing are not qualified to be rescued by me and enter the paradise without tiberium. Chen Yuyan said never forget to continue to install a magic stick. In fact, it has been widely spread among the residents that he can help the dead to purify, decompose the tiberium residues in their bodies, and enter the pure bliss world with their bodies and souls. Chen Yuyan presides over the funerals of many residents, and in the eyes of many people, Chen Yuyan, who can purify the body and soul of the deceased, and possesses all kinds of incredible high-tech, is really the incarnation of God. However, Chen Yuyan is not very good at continuing to pretend to be a magic stick. He is just maintaining a more awe-inspiring identity. He was also thinking that after he became more influential, he could consider finding someone to professionally help him pretend to be a magic stick. NOD is an organization with religion as its cohesive force. In the yellow zone where NOD is widely active, the residents are also very receptive to this aspect. This is Chen Yuyan's convenience. The worker ant drone quickly crawled over under the command of the Red Queen, shoveled up the corpses that had been put down together with the blood on the ground, and brought them back to the base for recycling as resources. As for the villagers in Muhi village, Chen Yuyan immediately asked Gengyu to take charge of arranging them to work in various factories, and told them that the inspection period was 3 months, and the salary within 3 months would only be half. Even if it is only half the reward, these people are full of joy. Because this means that their lives can be reconnected with the ruined city, which means that their future will definitely be better. All that Zhangqing boasted to them before has become a joke now, and in turn has become their motivation to work hard. And after the villagers of Muhi village were settled properly, the long-lost system reminder also sounded in Chen Yuyan's mind. Task 2 is completed, and now the population under your control has exceeded 5,000. Task reward, travel through time and space once the experimenter needs to start time travel within 24 hours without delay. The completion of this mission is evaluated as A level. According to the evaluation, this time travel will be a single-player mode. After completing the task, the experimenter will directly monopolize the world. Mission 3 is completed, and now you have completely occupied the ruined city. Task reward 1, after you come back alive from the time-traveling world, you will be upgraded to a silver group experimenter. Task reward 2, according to the speed and quality of the experimenter's current task completion, the rating is A level. You will be entered into a lucky draw. Mission accomplished. Chen Yuyan was ecstatic in his heart, and quickly contacted Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi, and informed them to come to the Nuhua base to discuss together. The mission is completed. I will be able to travel through time and space again. Chen Yuyan said excitedly, and he turned to Lin Huo and asked, "How about you? How is your mission completed?" However, to his surprise, after communicating with the system for a while, Lin Huo shook his head with a complicated expression and said, "My mission has not been completed." Or, "The mission has failed." What happened? Now I know why your task took so long to complete. Because before that, the population of Iron Hammer Town was not really counted within your control, it was still counted as my population. Lin Huo said. Chen Yuyan's expression changed. You mean, after completing these series of integrations recently, it's actually equivalent to me annexing your forces? That's why my mission was completed, but yours failed? Lin Huo sighed softly and said, "That's right. The bronze group cannot form a team, so although the resources between us are shared in essence, but in the system judgment, this is not the case. Only after reaching the silver group, to form a team." Chen Yuyan felt a little embarrassed now. He scratched his head and said, "I didn't expect this to happen before. I always thought that you would also complete the task, and then we would go to other worlds together. You know that I don't understand many games at all. I don't understand, if I'm thrown into a game world again this time, my eyes will still be blackened, and I won't be able to grasp the key to the plot at all." Lin Huo was depressed for a while, but had no choice but to accept this fact. He sighed again and said, "Well, there is no other way now. We can only wait for you to return successfully and upgrade to the silver group, and then we can form a team. After forming a team, our power will naturally be shared. As he spoke, an inexplicable smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Besides, if you die in that world, wouldn't these things come into my hands as well? Chen Yuyan smiled narrowly and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely not die." "Then, good luck to you," Lin Huo said. "Because I travel to other worlds, it is only a moment for this world. So I will not arrange many things. According to our previous plan, I will find the power to fight against General Tailong and the leader of Bian Lu Wei as a premise." "Activities," Chen Yuyan said. Lin Huo nodded solemnly, "So, the future of the entire ruined city depends on you." In the next day, Chen Yuyan began to prepare the items for this time travel. He carried 3 M41A1 assault rifles and 100 full magazines, or 10,000 rounds. Then he and Yi had 2 sets of combat uniforms with bulletproof modules. After that, there is a full 500 kilograms of liquid tiberium. This refined tiberium can ensure that they will grow more tiberium crystals in a short period of time, and for him and Yi's physique, these are also food. Although Chen Yuyan still prepared a lot of normal food, he still doesn't like the taste of tiberium crystals. Chen Yuyan originally planned to bring the tracker there, but the system prompted that the tracker was not a follower and could not be placed in his personal space, so he couldn't take it away, so he had no choice but to give up. And this time, he spent 16,000 points to bind Yi, and then took Yi to the world of Resident Evil for 3 days, and brought back 1,000 tons of rice by the way. The point gains during this period were basically used on it, and now he still has 530 points left, which is very limited. This also means that the things he can use the infinite base to build across time and space are very limited, and he needs to choose carefully according to the specific situation. When the preparations were over, Chen Yuyan came to Nuo's base, and Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi also came here to see him off. Chen Yuyan nodded and smiled at the two of them, then turned around and said to Yi, "Let's go Yi, I'm going to travel through time and space with my father." Yi nodded heavily, holding Chen Yuyan's arms tightly with both hands. She is also a little nervous now, after all, she is going to a strange world. System. Time travel. Chen Yuyan said loudly. Request accepted, ready to start time travel 10, 9, 8. Preparation is complete, the world of space-time travel is, radiation 4. The task mode is, single-player mode. Following the system's prompt, white light began to emerge from Chen Yuyan's body, and his body gradually faded and dissipated. He quickly shouted, "It's radiation 4. It's radiation 4. 3, 2, 1, the teleportation begins." The figures of Chen Yuyan and Yi turned into white light and disappeared. At that moment, he seemed to hear Lin Huo's shout, "Don't mess with the tramp with the dog."